Greetings, Hoodoo family. A very special thank you to all of you who participated in the New to Hoodoo meeting that I had last night. I had the tremendous opportunity to meet some very special individuals, and I truly believe that it was meant for us to cross paths. The intent was for me to help them, and I certainly hope that I did. But they really ended up helping me in a big way. But first, let me invite everyone to check out my Hoodoo books on my website. I do have the Hoodoo Basic Training textbook available. Check out the Soulful Divination and Root Work for the Home books. I have the 2024 Hoodoo Almanac available. And I plan to make these almanacs every year for as long as the good Lord lets me. Already, I'm starting to pull together the 2025 Hoodoo Almanac. So go to my website and see if these are of interest to you for increasing your Hoodoo knowledge and skills. So now that I have that out the way, family, one thing that I've learned through the years in these Hoodoo circles out here is that it's rare to come across genuine, sincere, serious, and especially mature groups of people who want to learn Hoodoo. It's rare to get this type of people in a meeting at one time. But this is what happened last night. And it was so refreshing because I could feel in my spirit every individual in that meeting, their heart was in the right place. And that means so much to me on my mission, my goal to preserve what our ancestors have created with Hoodoo, but also in passing down the knowledge because you want it to get in the right hands. People who will make the ancestors proud with how they carry this baton forward to the next generation. So I was just excited, just so happy, honored and thrilled by the group of people that I crossed paths with last night. And the meeting reminded me of my childhood when we'd visit relatives. And the grown folks, after supper, they would all gather in the living room and they would talk. We'd sit around the living room and the old wood stove. Just about everyone in my community at that time had a wood stove. We lived so far out in the country, there was no gas stoves, there was no electric stoves. We had to have wood, and it would be crackling and glowing and was so warm. And the men, they would pull out their pipes and start smoking. And the women, they would threaten us children to be quiet. We'd have to get somewhere and sit down. When grown folks was talking, children were not allowed to speak. Usually they would send us in another room to play while the grown folks talked, but on occasion, when it was late in the evening, we would get to sit around in the living room, usually sit on the floor and just be silent and listen. And the old folks would start talking about the past. And this would go well on into the night, sometimes past midnight. And they'd sometimes talk about the old root workers from years gone by and the work that they did. They would talk about work that was being done. And that's when my ears really popped up. This is the Hoodoo that I grew up with. but also the hoodoo that I hold very close to my heart. And I just don't share that side of it with just anyone. But family, unfortunately, this is how some of the old ways become lost and forgotten. A lot of women of the older generations in my family, they did hoodoo. One of them in particular, and I believe I've mentioned her before in maybe a previous video, was very masterful at left hand work. She specialized in that because she was just such a mean and hateful and vicious woman. And she had a daughter and two sons. None of them took interest in hoodoo. And they are now really up in age themselves. They're now elders. And I believe the daughter passed away. They went the complete opposite of what their mother did. They became devout church deacons and ministers, wouldn't even speak of the things their mother did, or just would not even talk about hoodoo in general. All of that knowledge on left hand work that their mother did just slowly faded away. It would have been nice to document more of her work. I only learned a few things about the type of left hand work that she did. But family, I come from a big family on my both my mother and father's side. My mother had 17 siblings. My father had 12. And they themselves had, aunts and uncles, big families. Their parents came from big families. I know of two other elderly close relatives. They too were devout church members, outstanding people in their communities. And when they passed away and the family was cleaning out their belongings, lo and behold, both of them had an old trunk filled with hoodoo work. No one ever knew that they were hoodoo practitioners. That's how secret they were. No one would have guessed. One of them was the wife of a minister. But that's the culture that I was raised in. People didn't talk about hoodoo unless it was in secret, in those hush hush whispered groups like I described. But secrecy can be a double-edged sword. It helps to keep the information, the knowledge in the family amongst those who need to know. But it also contributes to the loss of knowledge as people carry these secrets to their grave. There is a whole level of hoodoo not on the internet. It's out in the woods, it's out in nature. It's in the graveyard, the cemeteries, and so many other sacred spaces that we don't talk about in the public, passed down from our ancestors, generation to generation. This is the root work that I'm talking about, the oldest and most hidden side of hoodoo. These are the workings that the old folks would whisper about late at night around the old wood stove. This is kind of how I felt with the group last night. It was that kind of spirit amongst us. And I feel like the ancestors drove me to this meeting, and I'm so grateful. The ancestors brought all of us together at the right place, the right moment in time to show me something, actually to show all of us something in that meeting. I've been trying to figure out how to teach the hidden side of hoodoo without placing it in this public space. And I got my answer last night. So, family, I plan to hold more of those type private sessions because in them I can talk about things that I can't do out here. Some things just need to be kept in the family. No recordings, invitation only. So I just wanted to share this with you, family, because I'm so inspired. I'm so grateful to the ancestors, to all of those who met with me last night, took the time out of their busy schedules to talk about hoodoo, and that means so much to me. But family, I have a couple of more videos coming up for you. And I just want to thank you all for your support. I want to thank you for supporting my work, supporting my effort to preserve the hoodoo that our ancestors created, to help empower our family with this rich spiritual heritage that they've left us. So thank you all. I will see you in the next video.